My guest today is a wonderful musician, an
thank you.
amazing composer, and I think a musical storyteller, if I may say so.
That sounds about right. I like it very much. Yeah,
That makes
Just
sense.
Go on, go on.
Yeah. Oh, let me get my list of compliments. I have this here somewhere.
I'm listening. Yeah.
So first of all, how are you? How are you enjoying Digital Dragons?
Till 3 a.m. Yesterday.
Oh,
pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah, it's intense, I got to say, but I love every second here. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. It's my first time. Definitely not the first time in Poland, but the first time on Digital Dragons, and I would say this is an awesome thing, an awesome event, awesome experience for me. Coming from the talks of the other people I've attended, the reaction of the audience, the people, they were actually able to sit and listen to me and my blubbering for 1 hour, which was incredible, and then of course all the other program around, as I said, very intense. So I love it. Thank you very much.
The other program is always enjoyable. That we're not streaming this. It's better not to.
It's better not to.
So your yesterday's talk was obviously in music.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us to begin with, so that our audience knows everything. How did your journey with Warhorse started?
Yeah, there is a story behind that actually. But I don't know which way to start. Maybe this way. I have a cousin. His name is Adam. He also worked on Kingdom Come Deliverance, but that's a spoiler I have to make. So let's move on with the story now. And he called me one day and he's like, listen, there is this new game approaching. It's called Kingdom Come Deliverance, and they were quite successful on Kickstarter, and they are gonna make it. And I wonder, why don't we try to make a team, like 2 people, where you will be composing and I will be making the technical implementation of music, and we should like make a pitch for them, so maybe they might give us the job. And I was like, well, that would be awesome, because of course I was watching this game. I knew about the Kickstarter, and I loved everything I saw about it so far. So we really started to work on some prototype. I started to write some demo music, and Adam put it together into some like a tryout music engine, and everything since then was like for me revolving around this game. I mean, like I've spent dozens and dozens of hours of trying to find all the available information about the project. I've seen, for instance, all the lectures of all the people from the studio, even like programmers and things I don't understand, So I was so much into it. And then Adam had a friend in the studio, and he asked him like, okay, so you think we can pitch, He's like, I'm gonna ask Daniel Vavra, which is the leader of the project, what he thinks about like music, or whether he has somebody or so. So he asked, and his answer was, listen, Daniel already has chosen someone. So guys, it's no-go zone for you, you are done. Sorry. And I was like, after 6 months, I've been looking forward to it. I was hoping, and I was like, oh, this is such a pity. Anyway, the next day in the morning, I've got an email from Daniel Vavra, and he was offering me the job, because the guy he already wanted was me, which I didn't know. So you can take it like I've beaten myself.
Yeah. I mean, but then who wins?
Yeah, that's the other guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how it started, and that was 2014. And since, I'm happy and proud to be part of all this, because it's an incredible journey.
So it's been 11 years in total
11 years.
to doing that.
Yes.
And you're working non-stop.
Not completely, there were like some bottlenecks, as they call it, like pretty many of them actually. And of course there were moments where I was working less on Kingdom Come and doing other stuff around, because it never was the only thing I'm doing, but it was always the main thing I'm doing, that's for sure.
Okay, so tell us in general, what is the approach for making music for Kingdom Come Deliverance? Like, what are you searching for when you're trying to compose music for such a game?
Yeah, well, I will try maybe to cover at least a bit of what I said yesterday on the talk, if that's okay. Well, Daniel Vavra, I already mentioned the name. He gave me like couple information for a starter. One of them was that he wants music which would feel ancient, medieval, but on the other hand, it would also have this quality of like 70s and 80s soundtrack Hollywood, which is something we both love. We would say it's the golden time of Hollywood music. He mentioned specifically Williams, and which is okay because I absolutely adore that gentleman. And yeah, and he also mentioned some, composers of the Czech New Wave, which is films of 1960s. I believe those are the films when you Polish people say, like, if you don't understand something, you're like, this is like a Czech film, I believe you say that, yeah, so these are the films. But the composers were very prominent for that time and space in cinematography, in films. So that was another source of inspiration. And yeah, I just took these information and I reshaped them into something slightly different. Well, my approach was then that I'm gonna use like as much symphony orchestra as possible because my background is classical. I'm originally a violinist. I studied conservatory. I had the academy, playing violin. So, and I'm around classical music since my very childhood because my dad was a conductor, and my mom plays piano, my sister, everybody in the family is like professional musicians. So there was no other option for me. And yeah, so the real thing was like how to combine these two worlds together to have like kind of like cinematic film music, orchestral in the style of 70s or 80s Hollywood, and to add some medieval infusion into it. And that's like, but I was talking about it in the talk. Like I've created some basic rules. It's not complicated to make the rules, it's complicated to obey them. But if you do so, you can have like, something which works, because then no matter how many different styles or different atmospheres, different feelings, expressions you have in the music, all the pieces of music are somehow related to each other. They are relatives, they work together. So the music then unites the game, not breaks it, which I find is one of the things the music should do. So that was the basic thing.
Okay, and there's always a lot of music being composed for a game, right?
Yeah.
It's so how much music do you have in KCD1 and in KCD2?
Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 was like over 5, close to 6 hours. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is 10.5 hours. That's like, we went a bit wild.
How are you not tired when making so much music? I mean,
I am tired. No, it was, well, of course, when Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 took me like over 3 years, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was 4.5 years. And yeah, that's the thing, it's, you need to think long term, you need to think not only for yourself, but also like, if you add something into it, as I said, everything needs to be somewhat related to each other, so you can't bring something into the complete soundtrack which would break it, which wouldn't fit, and that has multiple levels on thinking, and it's quite demanding. But, my thinking was probably the same as everyone in the studio, We have been told, like, okay, let's make Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and let's make it bigger and better than 1. Okay, so the 2 is going to be bigger and better, and that was like our mantra. We kept telling this. Also, another thing was that they said, we are not making any DLC. This is a brand new game, and players need to feel that really, we really took care, and we really made all the things, like, of course, we use the core mechanics and things people love, but we make one, and each of them, we turn the stone, everyone, and we will just look what to make better. So that gave me 2 things. First, I'm not gonna reuse any single piece of music, and I really didn't. There is just one dramaturgical reason. There is one moment where I repeat a couple of bars from Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, and it's only in a dream about your parents, because that's the reminiscence. But other than that, everything else is newly composed. So that was one thing, and the other thing, this bigger and better, was like, okay, it's gonna be such a massive, amazing game. Already, I was in love with Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, so I was like, it deserves, whatever it needs. So I'm gonna die probably, but let's make more, So the original idea was like to make some like 7 something hours of music, but it was, in the end, it was like even longer than that. It was over, as I said, 10 hours, 36 minutes or something, 400 tracks actually. Plus something we call transitions. That's like, technical things, pieces of music which allow us to end the music nicely, seamlessly, and it sounds logical. That's additional 3 hours, but we don't count that into soundtrack.
3 hours?
Yes, yeah, because we have this specifically for every 10 seconds of music in the in-game part. So we have 7 hours of in-game music in it, and every 10 seconds of it like has its own little coda, which you can use if you need to leave it. I know, we are crazy. Yeah. I'm getting that look very often. It deserves
feels like you guys are bored at times.
No, we are not. We are tired, yes, but never bored. See, it's maybe because I don't know, I'm really in love with this game. I mean, I love the main character, I love Hans, you know, I love, and now for those of you who played the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I love the Devil's Spec, you know, in the critical part of the story. I love every single person, you know, and I do care about them. I find the stories just amazing, and I adore the work of all my colleagues in the studio. I mean, I cannot name just one because everybody else will be missing. But okay, if I can just give you an example. So, okay, there are concept artists. They are, from the start, they were doing actually what I would say is a real piece of art. It's like wonderful pictures. They show not only like how it's gonna be and where it's gonna be positioned, which cast or something, but they already add some emotion into the picture. They call it moods. And I was looking at these moods, and I got strongly inspired with it, you know, for the in-game part of the music, you know, in the open world, as we call it as well. And that was a huge inspiration. And one day, I was calling this colleague of mine who was working in concept artists, you know, and I was like, do you have some more of these concept arts? I need some more inspiration. He's like, okay, yeah, you use it? How, for what purpose? I'm like, yeah, I'm just watching, you know, I'm just looking at these pictures for like 20 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, so C sharp, and I start composing because that's such a huge inspiration. You know what he told me, this is interesting, Jan, because the way we work is we are listening to your music, and then we are actually painting these
so it's an
arts.
infinite circle.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I don't get it, but of course, well, that made me feel proud, that's for certain, and it also shows you like, thank you very much, it also shows you like, you know, both the commitment and the appreciation we have, you know, in the studio for each other. So it's like, I don't know, the best team, best game, best story, everything was, as I said, I'm in love with it. So yeah,
okay.
That's it.
So you were doing, I expect, music for the DLC as well, that is already out there. So how much work that was?
Actually, not that much. Kingdom Come Deliverance has the DLC that there will be 3 of them. The one is already out, you know it.
Brushes with Death.
Yeah, Brushes with Death, yes. And there was actually like quite some work, but it wasn't, in comparison with the game itself, like nothing is difficult, to be honest, you know. Like nothing I can imagine. But here it was like a couple cutscenes, they needed special music. We had this Wojta, the painter, he's a very special person. So there is one thing which I wanted to, actually, I didn't want to do it, but then I've got convinced somehow, and it's probably for the very first time you can hear piano playing in the Kingdom Come Deliverance. We don't have piano almost never, almost nowhere. That was one of the rules. I was like, everybody uses piano for music, you know. I love a piano, but it's overused, it's everywhere, and it's not medieval. The sound is not medieval, you know. Yeah. Anything you can take a horn, you can take a string, you can take something, you know, some plucked instrument. All these things were there already, but this like a keyboard instrument, you know, with the hammers, you know, hitting the strings and all this sound refined into such a beauty as we have nowadays. It's pretty modern stuff. So it would move the soundtrack out of the medieval times, and I didn't want that. So there is no piano. It was prohibited, and this time I've been an exception. And it was because of the Wojta, of the painter, of the character, because he's so special, so unique, so different than anybody else you can meet in the story. And we thought we already have everyone there, so it's like there is still space. So yeah, there is one cutscene which I particularly like, and I use the piano on a prominent level, so that was interesting. And then there are tiny things you might probably not notice that much, but of course that it's also my job to make like decisions what's gonna play where. So you have like a pool of music. The hell we do, like over 10 hours, 400 tracks, and guys told me like, okay, in this story this is happening and that is happening, and you know, so there is this heart and this is what happened there, and players should feel this and that, and they talk about emotions. My role is to say, okay, in that case we're gonna play here this and this and this, and I make a playlist, and they just let it work. So this is what I was also doing, and these decisions, there were quite many. Yeah, so it's like example of what I'm doing for DLCs. As for the DLC 2, it will be quite similar. There might be some additional new open world in-game music as well. We'll see about that, and some little tiny surprises, but I cannot tell too much.
Surprises.
And then there is going to be the DLC 3, which is already also announced.
Yeah, all 3 ones are announced.
Yeah. And that's going to be big, actually. That's going to be massive, and there is a lot of cutscenes, and that's going to need a lot of new content on my side. So yeah, that's definitely the biggest part. It's the same like with Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, when we had also 3 DLCs, and the third one, Woman's Lot, was the most challenging with biggest amount of content.
Okay, so this is not me trying to fish for information, and just I'm saying this up front, but the second DLC is the blacksmithing one?
Yes.
Okay, just to reconfirm
exactly.
that. I hope that we get to have Henry whistling another tune as well.
This is a clever guy.
We should.
This is a clever guy, yes. So see, I was like, I will not mention it because nobody will notice. Okay.
Some people have to.
We do plan to have this, actually, yeah. That's
Good.
one of the things we should do, because since it's going to be like a thing, for this DLC, very special thing. And yeah, it deserves everything. So.
See, when I was at Warhorse in February, this is something, well, I haven't public about on the socials, but since the project will be out in the next few weeks, then we weren't very much in detail. But I talked to Prokop as well, and he said like, okay, we have some ideas for the DLC with blacksmithing, but I'm not going to get into detail. Fast forward 3 months later, almost 4, now we are closer there. So now we know new whistling music.
Yeah. It's gonna be. I hope this is not
a scoop.
Too much of like breaking the non-disclosure agreement.
No,
in the studio.
I think I'll save you from Toby just.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's go back to KCD2 for a while, and I remember we had this conversation that now with the bigger and better, there was also a live choir. There was more musician. You recorded it in Rudolfinum as well.
Yes.
So let's talk about this process, like how amazing that was.
Oh yeah, well that's amazing. It's like it's funny because of course it looks so big, and it is. I know, but honestly, to me, this is actually like a cherry on the top. It's a pretty nice cherry, and it's a very expensive one. I got to give you that, But the real work, the real mass of work, comes before that. So I mean, like we were recording this in Rudolfinum in Warhorse, and then we also used another studio in Prague and recorded their additional sessions. It was in total like, I don't know, 24 hours, maybe 30 hours in the studio of net time. That gives you the scope, and we recorded over 3 hours of music for cutscenes. So that was it. And I was working on those cutscenes like for a couple months because it was really a lot of work to do. So the basic thing is like to do it all, to do it properly, to get it ready. I orchestrate my scores myself, because it's the easiest way for me, and also, I'm maybe a control freak in this, so I don't entrust it to anybody else. But if you do that and you are really ready with everything, everything is on as it should be, there is no need to worry. And in that case, you can only enjoy the recording. Of course, there is still a bit of like, responsibility because the budget is high and the time is expensive. So every minute counts, and you want to record as much as possible. But yeah, even then, I enjoyed every second of it. And the choir you mentioned, that was, this Warhorse it's a beautiful place, a wonderful venue, and it has some certain, personal meaning to me, which goes beyond the time we have, but it's just, I love the hall. I have very fond memories on that. And that's why I wanted to do it there again. And we had 66 wonderful musicians in the orchestra, and then for the afternoon session came 40 singers. And they were amazing, and I did expect it's going to be wonderful, but I have to tell you that the first time I gave them a sign and started to sing, I had to shed my tear. I was like, okay, wake up. That's not good. You shouldn't get moved with your own music. It's so embarrassing. Come on, sober up. I was like, okay, so let's do once again, please. Thank you. Shall we? Oh, I was enjoying it. See, that is something almost atavistic on the sound of a choir, on the quality of the choir, because it's like so many people, sort of like singing, screaming in one direction about the same thing, if you know what I mean, It's like, I would say this goes really back to moments when we were like tribes, and we are trained as human beings, I believe, to distinguish the human voice amongst any other noise, any other sound there is, because that was always very important, to hear each other, to help each other to survive, whatever it is. And actually, the reason why I used to choir so happily, and why it's so strong, actually originates somewhere over there. Of course, then it evolves into all the things, and we are not screaming anymore, we are singing, and it's so much better for music. But still, this original flow of energy is there. And yeah, if you have a live choir, it's a real special treat. Also, you use lyrics, which is something I love, I like. I spoke about it yesterday on the talk, because even if, say, the lyrics is in Latin and you don't recognize the words or something, there is a logic behind the words, behind the syntax, behind the syllables and everything, and that gives you an additional information, and it's there, stored somewhere in the music, and you feel it. So it makes the music like more clever, maybe, like more meaningful. Maybe this is better than clever, yeah. And that, you know, stacks it up, you know, so you get even higher quality with just that. And that's all of this you get, you know, with the choir. So.
With the third episode of the live action series you have with Tom and Luke, they were attending your recording session, I guess. With
it's a sparkling one, so I didn't know.
See, it's the emotions are running high. So they were attending this, and you were also playing Recordare, which is the Hans Capon's No spoilers because it hasn't been that long, but if you've made it past the wedding and you've been at Trotsky Castle after the wedding, you know what we mean. And this song always gets me, and just to also see it live there, and also, well, the gentleman watching this perform, I imagine it was amazing.
Yeah, and actually, no spoilers, so we can't say, but it's really funny. And that wasn't my idea, actually, you know. I knew what the order of the shooting is going to be. The you know, filmmakers asked me for like 50 minutes of the time. I said, like, okay, 50 minutes we give you, not more, sorry, because it's very expensive and we are here to record music. Although, of course, you want to pride yourself, you want to be in the frame of a camera, you want to have like a nice making of or live action trailer or whatever it was, like a film, you know, I love it, so I love the idea. But anyway, I gave them like a shape, like what we are gonna record, and I even reshifted somehow the order of the pieces so they can like move the camera from here to there, and I said like this might be probably the best track for you for this scene to shoot it, you know, and they followed it more or less. But I actually didn't realize, because I didn't know exactly what the lines are gonna be, which Tom and Luke are gonna be saying. So I didn't know that they will use this particular track with this particular situation where Luke is saying what he's saying. And if you play the game, you will see why we are talking about it, Michał. So yeah. See, there is something behind this track. I don't know why it's that, but I get that many times, and actually I get that even from professional musicians. They kind of like, okay, so it's all very nice, but this recordare, it really stands out somehow. So, and maybe it's because of the polyphony, maybe it's like the, sometimes you are able to hit the right spot in between on the axis of like simple and complex. If it's too simple, it's boring. If it's too complex, it starts to be, you know, difficult to decipher. So you need to maneuver in some space in between. Maybe this is it. Maybe I hit it. But again, it's the scene. It's the scene. I composed this track particularly for that scene. I saw the scene. I was like, okay, it needs to be recordare. It's because, again, I wanted to have the choir. I wanted to have these particular Latin lyrics from Requiem. And, you know, remember me, oh Lord, you know, in the day when I die, and all this stuff, you know, it's because it fits so well, the scene. And when I saw the scene, even in like very early stage of production, I fell in love with it totally, you know. I'm a weeper. I was crying when I saw it, you know, it's like...
I get that. I get that completely.
And it didn't look, of course, in the, you know, early stage, it didn't look so amazing as it looks now. But even then, I saw the extreme emotional potential there is. And that only then I started to compose. So it's all originating from the game, from the story. It's the inspiration I get from the picture, from, you know, the storytelling, you know. I'm actually like, you know, I'm a vampire, you know, and drinking blood of somebody else's and then, you know, claiming it's mine. It's not.
Indeed, this is an infinite circle, because then they have your music and then they can reshape the scenes also to, you know, have everything timed wide.
You are right about that.
So this is a constant collaboration all the time.
Yes.
So anything in particular we can expect from music in the coming, well, months?
In the coming months?
In terms of KCD, I don't want to get into details, obviously, but as you mentioned, the first DLC got the piano, which was unexpected, but is there something cool you're experimenting with?
Well, I'm just thinking, I don't know actually how much we did say, you know, about, how much did we say about the DLC 3?
I think you mentioned the titles of all 3 DLCs, and the roadmap is to have those within a year, and I think that's kind of mostly...
Yeah, it's gonna be, I hope I can say at least that it's gonna be kind of a detective story in a very special place, you know, like a holy ground. It's like gonna be, you know, and yeah, it brings a lot of new things, I would say, and because it's this very special place, although we have over 10 hours of music, I was like, guys, okay, but for this one, we don't have any music I can use. So that means I need to create a new one specifically for this particular place where it will, happen, where the story will take place. So this is what you surely can expect, and we are already working on that. And I'm looking forward to it, but I cannot say too much because...
Yes, I get that.
But then what we surely said, that for instance we released vinyls, which was, it's always like something to pride with because it's a wonderful artifact. And I think we already said, or at least I said it so many times, that if I actually make, an announcement, even if I shouldn't, it's done anyway. But as I said, we have over 10 hours of music, and there is a soundtrack which is available on both Steam, now on the vinyl, and also on iTunes and Spotify and everywhere. And it has like 86 minutes or something like that. So it's like 42 tracks, Actually, and on Spotify it's 35 because that's the limit for albums, so we had to put some of them together, but you will not miss any second, it's just connected together, 2 tracks into one. But that's, that's 1.5 hours, and where is the rest? 8.5 hours of music, and we get that a lot. People ask whether we are going to release like a full soundtrack. Yes, we plan exactly just that. I can't tell you that it's going to be all 400 tracks. Maybe some of the things we will be like, okay, so this is really just for the game purpose, and on its own it might not work too well in an album to listen, but we'll see about that. So yeah, but it will surely be close to those 10 hours in total, so close to 400 tracks. So this is something we want to have during this year still. Okay. And then there are other things that are in planning, but again, I cannot tell you.
So now this is the point where I am trying to fish for information. You had a wonderful concert after the first game with music. So can we maybe expect something like this happening with KCD2 as well?
Let's say you can maybe expect something.
We can maybe expect.
Let's say.
Maybe.
Maybe expect.
Like there is a possibility that we'll be able to hear it live.
Say if I imagine that there would eventually be a concert, I probably would be the person behind it, doing the score. I probably would be maybe working on it already, just to be sure we are on the safe side. But I'm definitely not the person. I probably might even conduct it again. That would be lovely. But
all hypothetical,
but yeah, if something like this will happen, which who knows, there will be somebody else to announce it. Okay, it's not me.
No, obviously, like this is all purely hypothetical. We're not speaking out. We're not announcing anything.
Exactly.
We're just here to enjoy music. So, do you have any favorite tracks that stand out for you from KCD2?
Very hard to say,
Yeah,
I've actually realized that I rely quite strongly on this particular thing, on the meaning of other people. I mean, how to put it? Of course, every composer is a big ego. Okay, and to some extent, it's maybe fine. It's okay. You just need to be more or less in the control of it. That's the only thing, which I usually try to. But how to say it? I love when people tell me the music is great and they like it. But I'm the harshest judge for myself and for my own work anyway. So I decide whether this is good or not myself first, and then only then I will trust anybody to tell me it's like, yeah, cool job. But if it comes to specific tracks, like what stands out, I'm relying on the others. So for instance, that the Saint Barbara theme is like kind of like a main track of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The same like Skalitz 1403 would be maybe like main track of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, at least for the orchestral part. That's not my decision. That was actually made by a colleague of ours in the Warhorse studios, Vítek Mičke, who was like, this is an amazing piece and we need to use this at the very end of the announcement video where we will actually announce that there is some Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and he really, boxed it through all the things, and all the, brainstormings and all the meetings and everything, with the publisher and with people in the studio. And he just, pushed it towards the situation where we really, it was in February last year, it was freezing cold. It was like, and we were in Saint Barbara Church in Gutenberg, which is very, it's still in construction in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Nowadays, it's a wonder. It's a fabulous thing. It's a UNESCO heritage. Place, yeah, and if you haven't been to Gutenberg, please do. It's really worth your time and effort. So, and we were there shooting at night. We were playing this Saint Barbara. I had real live orchestra, you know, and the only thing was that it was snowing and freezing outside, but it was actually 2 degrees better than inside. So, and there were musicians, you know, sitting on the chairs, you know, men in the tailcoats, but the women sometimes had like, you know, these dresses.
Yeah.
But yeah, they somehow we survived that, and it gave this track kind of a recognition, and that's why actually yesterday when I wanted to like introduce the music, I played this very track. You know, see, this is not my decision. This is Vítek Mičke's decision. So it's his child that is the same. The same with the Recordare, for instance. I like it because everybody says it's nice. So it probably is. If I have to think about what I personally like, it's maybe the same like with Kingdom Come Deliverance. One. It's the slowest and most relaxed tracks for nature. I don't know why. I just maybe it was the biggest joy to compose those because there are no restrictions. It's just like your vision, what you want to achieve with it, what you want to say. And I'll tell you one tiny thing. I tried because you know it's like an abstract music. It's like you are in a field. So what you play in the field, like you know, what you actually do with the music is. You shouldn't be duplicit. You shouldn't do what's already in a frame. So you see you in a field. You see the colors. You see the shape of the hills. You know, somewhere there on the horizon. You know, and you see the movement. You even feel the wind because you see, you know, the vegetation flowing in it and everything. But for instance, you don't feel smell of you know freshly cut grass or something like that. You know, you don't feel personally like it's like you know in the middle of the day. So it's a lot of sun. It's maybe hot. You know, so Henry feels something. So you can add these things, which is you actually try to imagine like, okay, what my feeling would be if I'm, you know, staying in such a field, and what I would feel, and to transform this into the music. So this is what I really love. But in order to not make it all the same and not make it just an abstract like piece of something like a texture, I always try to imagine a little story behind every track. And these are like just tiny like scenes, like very tiny things. Actually, it doesn't get anywhere. I mean, the name of the track will then be Atmosphere Field 1 and Atmosphere Field 2 and Atmosphere Field 3. Yeah, so I suck with names, you know. But actually, what's Atmosphere Field 1? I don't know, it's like this older villager who is there at his field, you know, he had been working all day, he's tired, and he knows that the Sigismund army is ravaging, you know, the surrounding area, and you know, and his kids are already gone, so he is alone on work, and but still he has like you know his wife, and he likes her, and there is gonna be a good beer. He can sip with the friends at the pub, you know, after the job, and you know, actually he just stays there for a while, for a couple of seconds, and he looks at the horizon. He's like, well, actually, but isn't this a beautiful country? Actually, I'm actually having, yeah, with all the things, I'm actually still having a very nice life, don't I? I'm actually happy now. So maybe this is, and I imagine this, and this is what I try to put into music. Or, I don't know, two girls, you know, just, you know, singing whilst working together. So, and then you get, okay, so there's going to be two voices, you know, so they're going to be singing something together. It's going to be like dialogue, you know, of those two girls. They are in the fields working, for instance, you know, and I get these pictures, and it helps me to create the tracks. So they are like, all of them feel and sound like a field, but each of them is like specific and brings something new, something extra. So these, yeah, things like this, music for forest, for instance, that's what I like.
Okay, but yeah, I was going to ask if you're sure if this is atmospheric field 1 and not 2, this story about the worker, because I think it might be 2. But yeah, so I think we are somewhere near wrapping up the whole conversation, or no, we actually have more time. I mean, I've been just told, like, if you're not in a hurry, then we can still...
I'm not in a hurry, yeah.
That's good. So we can pry more secrets out of you then. No, I'll try not to. But I also want to kind of come back, because in July last year, we were in Kutná Hora for the event, and you mentioned the St. Barbara's Church, and we were there, we were surprised with a live performance of music.
It was the same church, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that I wish people could experience as well, because we knew the music from the trailer, but then if you're there and then you hear all these things, and this got amazing. So now you have to be there regularly, playing those tracks.
Well, this was an amazing experience for me, to be honest. I mean, like actually, like, you know, I'm returning to the crime scene, you know, after some months, you know, because in February we have been recording it with the real orchestra, with a big number of musicians and even a choir. And here for this preview event, as we call it, or press event, as we call it as well, in Kuttenberg, in Kutná Hora. We had like a smaller amount of musicians, a smaller number. It was like 14 instrumentalists and 4 singers only, so 18 people in total, which is like 1/5 of the size, roughly. But it's like, you know, I like this. I like taking the music and rearrange it into a smaller setting and trying to achieve still like the same or very similar sound. Of course, there are limitations, particularly in strings. If you don't have the, you know, 40 strings or how many you can have, you know, and you have just a string quintet, it will sound different. And there is nothing you can replace it with. But other than that, you know, there are things you can really do with, you know, the voice leading and with instrumentation and so on. And I like to play this way, you know. I like to play with the music. And if it's my music, then even better, probably, because nobody will blame me if it doesn't work. So that was a good thing. And then, you know, I really loved, you know, the surprise in the faces of you and your colleagues from the press, because they didn't expect that. You know, they were waiting in front of the church, just to say, and then, you know, we secretly were there, you know, we just tuned silently so nobody knows. And then the whole bunch of people entered the church and we started to play. And they were like, what is this? You know, nobody expects Spanish Inquisition and nobody expects, you know, 18 musicians, you know, waiting for you in the church. So, yeah, that was a wonderful thing to do. I would love to do it again, but let's see.
Potentially, hypothetically, maybe someday. So one song that always comes to mind when speaking of KCD2 as well is a song about Henry. Our hero Henry. So can we talk about this a little bit?
Yes, just hang on, I will try to.
Yeah, sure, go ahead, take some water. For those of you who don't know, the song is being played by 2, let's say, amazing people called George and Michael, as far as I understand. Yeah. They have this amazing performance of Ode to Henry, and how that came to be.
That's another, see, this is like, you are like, okay, so I'm doing it for a very long time now, so nothing will surprise me now. You're wrong. It's always like, there's always something, you know, back in the sleeve, you know, my colleagues are coming with such crazy ideas as this one. By the way, you are right. The name is George and Michael, but it differentiates in every localization. Language, yeah. For instance, in Germany, it's Udo and Jürgen, which is also funny. And by us, it's Michał and David, because Michał David is a very famous, you know, pop artist, you know, we have. I've named one, by the way.
I wonder how it works in Polish. If you guys know.
Yeah, I don't know now.
Did we have Polish subtitles for KCD? I think so.
Yeah, I don't know now.
I hope so. If so, but let us know in the chat.
It's surely localized, and it's actually the only song, as far as I think, maybe there is one more, which is really re-sung by the actors for every single language. There is even a YouTube video where you can see this song, you know, in like 6 or 7 versions, which one of them is, for instance, Japanese. That's very interesting, you know, and you see like every nation took it a different way, you know, and brought the humor in a different direction. Well, but it was actually, that's funny, it was the very first thing I had to deliver for Kingdom Come Deliverance too.
Okay, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because, see, that was in a very early stage. They wanted to go into the motion capture studio with the actors, and they needed the music because of the syncing, because of the movement, because of the, you know, pretending they are playing the lute and everything. So acting, simply. So, yeah, I've been asked, you know, to come into the studio for the first time for Kingdom Come Deliverance, actually for this. So, yeah, we met, and it was the normal, regular job, so we met with Petr Pekař, which is the lead of cinematics. He's a wonderful guy, by the way, and fantastic artist. And we spoke about this. He explained to me what it means, etc. I've got the lyrics by John Comer. That was English lyrics, and that's a colleague of ours in the studio, and he's a very clever guy with a huge sense of humor, you know, like in a British way. And additionally, he is like brilliant with lyrics, with words, with English in general. So he made this, you know. And the only thing which I feel sorry for is that actually in this version in a game, it's like only 2 verses, I believe. He wrote like 7 verses or 6 or how many.
I remember this. The longer version.
It was longer. In the church. It was longer in Gutenberg, but it's still not complete. So there is there is more of the other verses, and all of them are actually super funny. So it's like such a pity that you know the players know only this. We might make some bonus version of it one day.
We need a long cut of this.
yeah. So yeah, the only thing I couldn't be, for family reasons, I couldn't be there on the shooting. maybe for the better, because I would try to, make the artist the actors, that's the word, sorry, the actors to sing more true to the sheet music, like, hey, this is nice, but can you just the C sharp a bit higher and this a bit lower, and make this longer, no, this is wrong, please, and so on. And I would like put them in chains, and they might even get anxiety from me, and the composer doesn't like what I'm doing. So they have done it freely, and it was a bit of a shock when I heard it for the first time. I was like, aha, so. Right, I didn't expect just that, but in the end, I feel it's the absolutely ideal thing. And actually, for a while, I was even fighting for okay, guys, do you think we can re-sing it one day so it's a bit more true to how I wrote it, etc. And everybody was like, no, yeah, we can, but why? It's like, this is it. Everybody loves it already, just believe us. So yeah, I was wrong, they were right, and I love it now too, of course.
It is amazing. And then the rendition that Luke does in the announcement video, which is very different. Was that also let's say, your idea to make this more of a calm song? Because these are two very different versions of the same song.
That was again idea by our brilliant colleague Witek Michke. So as you see, we have brilliant people everywhere, and Witek is amazing. So he came with this idea. He's like, let's start with this quote, and that was back then when nobody knew the song actually. Yeah. And we were waiting. We have given a couple such hints here and there, in this announcement video. Then also, for instance, this funny thing with the live action video, from Rolfin with Luke, listening to this music, as we mentioned before. And we were then waiting for the reaction of the players, whether they realized. Of course, they did, and they were like, so this is this. Oh, it's the same song, we already heard here, and it's completely connected. So that's a great idea. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to have a last question here, but this is purely hypothetical. And not in any way fishing for information. Again, this is, let's say, a process or a hypothetical evolution. You went a certain way from KCD1 to KCD2. But if you were to do the next game in the series, how would you evolve music that you're doing for this?
That would depend on what the story would do, and I can answer with let's compare Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I'll also be on the safe side. So
but this is not fishing for information.
I understand. No, but it's a good mental exercise actually. If you want, if you compare these two games, the main difference is to me that Kingdom Come Deliverance is more mature in all aspects. Henry has grown up, the story's bigger, where there were some, landlords, interesting but smaller, nobility. Now you have kings, and you are not fighting for just a little region, you are fighting for, say, the future of your own homeland, the whole country, a whole nation. So it goes more mature, more bigger, and that meant the shift in music as well. I always say that in Kingdom Come 1, Henry goes from boy to a man, and in Kingdom Come 2, he goes from a man to a hero. Although colleagues in studio tell me, don't say a hero, because he can also be a scoundrel. He can do whatever he wants. You can rob anybody. Is that what a hero would do? They are right, but you know what I mean. You get the drift. So I was like, how do I make this? How do I make the music more mature? How do I make this music, which is not from a boy to a man, but from a man to a hero? And you add another layer of complexity, which then, of course, evolves into specific musical solutions. But that would be far too complicated to explain. But just for example, there are special chords which I didn't use in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, and now I add a bit more, of the tensions, of the tones. They shouldn't be there, but they make the spice. There is also more polyphony. That is more multiple voices, and each of them is important. They intertwine, they interact with each other at the same time. There is this choir we have been talking about. That's another big, huge thing which makes it more mature, because there is lyrics. There is the text that brings the additional information, and so all this. So it evolves, but the right answer is it's all because the story has asked for it. So I would have to need to know like what this potential future game would be, what is it would be about, and then I would adapt the music in accordance with just that. Because I'm serving the game. That's what I'm here for.
So all piano based.
Yeah,
just
course.
a single piano for
only
the whole,
synthesizer.
yeah, and 13 hours this time.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind eventually.
Let's do a deal here. Okay, thank you everyone for this. This has been Janem Valtą.
Thank you very much.
Best composer I know personally, not because it's the only one I know personally, but it's been a pleasure. So thank you for visiting
My
us.
pleasure. Thank you very much.
And let me give it back to Ula then.
Thank you.